Back at it again. RIC in a place to be. We're on fire over here for the All Access Football Daily Show on this Football Friday affair, September 26, 2025. Buckle up and hunker down. There's so much to get to today. How about that Thursday night football thriller? NFC West showdown. We'll get into that. Arizona should have went for 2. We'll talk about it. We'll be about it. Of course, we've got a lot of NFL news and notes to prepare you for the upcoming weekend. And we'll even get into a little CFL, the commissioner making an appearance on the Rod Peterson show, CFL doubleheader tonight. But we're going to open up the show with some college football action because there's a Friday Night Lights triple header affair tonight. A lot of good games on the docket. Of course, TCU and Arizona State. A lot of prospects we're going to get to in that one. Late night affair. We got Houston at Oregon State. We'll talk more about that. Shine the spotlight on a couple quarterbacks there and some names you need to know for the upcoming 2026 NFL draft. And we are All Access Football, where it's draft season all season long. I just posted the Draft Insider column up on the website this morning. We've got 40 guys each for the Oregon-Penn State matchup and 40 guys for the Georgia-Alabama matchup. These games are loaded with future Sunday players. So if you love the NFL draft, go over to the website, consume and digest all of our scouting reports, player projections, verified measurements. I mean, when I tell you nobody is covering the draft like All Access Football and the NFL Draft Bible scouting department, I mean it. And tomorrow we'll have our college football pregame show with Russ Landy. We'll go around the college football landscape, marquee matchups, key prospects that you need to know. Of course, Sunday is our NFL Pick'em show. I got the W last night, which brings us to 29-20 against the spread in the NFL action. Of course, yesterday we had a great spot with Chad Ryder over at NFL.com. He's been doing it a long time. I also isolated that segment on the YouTube channel, which we do with all of our interviews, and included that in the Draft Insider report. So definitely, if you want to get some more draft talk in, Chad Ryder joined us on Thursday. Of course, Tuesday we had the Continental Football League Commissioner, Mike Kelly, also isolated on the page, and the legendary Howard Balzer on Wednesday show. And we're going to start off a little bit different on today's episode, the 26th edition of the All Access Football Show on this Football Friday affair, September 26, 2025. Ric Serritella in the saddle, by the way, in case you don't see my name right there. But that way you know who said it when it comes to all the takes here on the All Access Football Show. And we appreciate the love and support. Since 2002, we've been bringing you the names you need to know. And our next guest is a fountain of information, especially when it comes to the Virginia Cavaliers. He is the host of Lock on Virginia, of course, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, and a host here on the All Access Football Network. And I was talking to Big Law before the show. I've made it through 26 episodes without missing a spot, but should that day ever come, he is the next man up. So let's welcome him into the show. Of course, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia. How could we forget that? Big Law Lawrence Johnson checking in, man, down there in the VA. Big game tonight, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother, man. Just trying to, keep it all in front of me. It keeps moving, trying to keep it there, trying to zero in on everything now that the season's in full swing. We've had such the word isn't turbulent. It's a little bit more of a joyous, turbulent situation going on here in the state of Virginia, at least from central to the east. On the west side, maybe not so much. But here on this side, everybody's kind of excited about what we got going on. So, yeah I'm excited, man.
3-1, hosting the undefeated Florida State Seminoles, coming into this matchup ranked number 8 in the nation. They're undefeated at 3-0. Florida State coming in as a favorite also on the road, 6.5. Mm-hmm. So before we get into the matchup, Big Law, for the listening audience who haven't been keeping tabs on the Cavaliers, they're off to a good start, as you alluded to. Just give us a general overview. I see the quarterback, Chandler Morris, who I believe came over from SMU, having a very productive season. And this offense looks like they can put some points on the board.
Yeah, well, Chandler Morris, he came from North Texas.
North Texas, okay.
He was at North Texas. Before that, he was at TCU and then Oklahoma.
Right, okay. I know he bounced around.
That's right. Chandler Morris actually is the son of Chad Morris, who is legendary offensive coordinator for Clemson during Dabo's heyday, when they were winning championships. And, of course, the head coach of UVA is Tony Elliott, which was the receivers coach under Chad Morris during those heyday years at Clemson. So
Interesting.
that was a kind of maybe a son to a father figure. He was, because I'm pretty sure Chandler was running around at Clemson practice. When Clemson was kicking everybody's butt in the ACC, and now that Chandler's a senior now or a grad student now at UVA, he was one of the first ones to call once he put his name in the portal. And I don't think it was a question. So, and of course, Chandler Morris was one of the top 10 quarterbacks last year in college football in yards, air yards for sure, and also in touchdowns. He had 32 touchdowns last year.
I was going to say he must be amongst the league leader, like the nation leaders, 1,050 passing yards. I haven't seen too many quarterbacks
already
exceed 1,000. Yeah, in just what, 4 games?
Yeah, 8 touchdowns.
8 touchdowns, 1 interception, playing very efficient, and Trell Harris making big plays, and Cam Ross. Cam Ross is a guy too. I saw him up at UConn, and I know he has some kick return ability and some speed. Give us a rundown here on this offense.
All right, I got a pretty deep list I can go through really quick. I know we got some time here. That we got to kind of get through these things, but we talked about Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris is going to give you the Baker Mayfield vibes, is what he is. He has that moxie,
gamer,
quick. Yeah. Oh man, good gamer. Almost Johnny Manziel-like, quick feet. Get out the pocket. If you look at some of his highlights, especially last week, he does like a little quick roll, sprint roll out, and a guy a guy gets outside, he breaks the pocket, spins outside of him, and chucks the ball to Trell Harris on the outside shoulder, outside pylon, top pylon, and throws a touchdown. It was about 35 yards in the air. The kid's amazing, and I think Des Kitchens, who was the offensive coordinator, has really had a hard time out here in the University of Virginia, and they're talking about how bad the offense has been. He's done great, and maybe it's because of the talent. Now, the backstory with this season with the team is, remember, the NIL, Virginia being I want to say academics first institution, okay, but they also are looked at as a public Ivy, so academics really, really are high here, kind of like a Stanford, Vanderbilt. That's what UVA fashions themselves as, and they made a decision last year to go in 2 feet in December, to go in 2 feet into this portal, to the portal and to NIL. I had always asked the question before this year. I said, is UVA willing to sell their souls to the football gods? And they actually did, and they said they're up to, the word around media circles here, $30 million on the roster.
Wow.
Yeah, somewhere inside of there. Could be a little less than that, but they went in. If you try to put the numbers together, it's up there, just for the football, with the boosters and boosters, donors, so 3-1 right now. Should have beaten NC State, but lost to NC State. But we talked about Chandler Morris, quarterback. Then they had another receiver we didn't talk about was Jamal Edrin, 6'3", 220-pound monster. He took Malachi Fields' position as the outside number 1 receiver on the team. He is a great possession guy. Came from Purdue. Big kid, man. He looks almost like physical stature of the Predator. Just a really top-heavy wide receiver, big upper body, strong. But he's done a great job as far as keeping the chains moving. That's another guy. He's definitely a pro prospect. You talked about Cam Ross. You saw him up in UConn, came from JMU. He's here at Virginia, already has a punt return, already was a player of the week in the ACC when it comes to offense, puts up a lot of yards, very explosive. Will put you in the mind of Malik Washington, who's at Miami, who came out of, who broke all the receiver records at the ACC at Virginia 2 years ago. He is definitely in the vein. He's pretty much slid into that position, and he's showing out. And then, of course, you said Trell Harris. Well, Trell Harris, who's been on the team for 2 years now, got hurt earlier, was the deep threat before he got hurt last year. And this year, actually, just last game, he had 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. Had a hat trick. Kid's phenomenal, man. He's going to be, I think, another one on the draft boards to look at. So that's 3 receivers right there from Virginia. You talk about 1,000 yards a quarter of the season. I mean, he's tracking over 4,000 yards, the quarterback is, and you got 2 receivers tracking well over 1,000 yards, and you have another receiver tracking probably, which is a possession guy, in the 600 and 700 range. Another player to look out for is Brady Wilson, who was one of the top centers in the league last year. He was one that they plucked out of the NIL, who was a top guy at UAB. He played for the Blazers, and I'm surprised that no one in the SEC could pull him out. But up until he got injured last week with the calf strain, but I think he's going to play this week. But he actually was the top center by PFF, if not top 2 in the ACC up until this point. And the guy is a steadying, calming force on the team, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play this tonight against FSU, because they're definitely going to need him making all the calls, being the quarterback of the line. On the defensive end, we got Antonio Clary. Can't hear you.
Yeah, Daryl. Yeah, no, I was going to say he draws a big assignment tonight against Daryl Jackson there of Florida State. That should be a good matchup to watch.
It will. It'll be a battle inside there, and that's where UVA has really made some of their hay. Now we're talking about passing the ball. We cannot forget about them running the ball. I'll come back to Antonio Clary on the defensive side, but they have a 3-headed monster at running back. We're talking Xavier Brown, who's been the incumbent starting running back there for the last couple of years, shared time. But 2 guys have come in and jumped him and actually are starting over him. Yes, you have Harrison Whaley from Idaho, who came in, had 3 touchdowns last week, not this week, past week, but the week before. Had 3 touchdowns and broke the UVA record for longest touchdown run in a season, which was a 97-yarder. So, and he's the backup. So let me tell you about the starter.
Yeah.
The starter is Jamari Taylor, who's a running back from North Carolina Central, who came over, who was in a little bit of a scandal with, and I want to say it wasn't his fault, but it was and they're going through it right now, where it was a coach from Virginia Tech is accused of recruiting Taylor while he was still at North Carolina Central. So as that's going on, I guess he was like, look, I'm just going to go to Virginia. I know Virginia Tech's recruiting me. I'm just going to go to Virginia. And what a blessing it's been that he's been here. He has 6 touchdowns right now. He's a leading rusher on the squad, and he's actually one of the top running backs in the ACC as well. So you got like a 3-headed monster. Jamari Taylor kind of puts you in the mind of a little bit of a Joe Morris to me. You know, I'll give you throwing back to you a little bit there.
All the guy.
Yeah. And, but he's hard to tackle. He's hard to tackle. And Harrison Whaley has a little bit of that Emmitt Smith. You know, he's not super fast, but he can make you miss in the hole. But he's also a bowling ball. He's about 215 pounds. You know, at 5'11". So, you know, you got a lot of different types of body types back there, and they're running the ball. They're one of the top rushing teams in the conference as well as passing the ball. Number 7, I believe, top 10 in the country in offense. This offense is. So they're putting up over 40-some points a game. It's really impressive what they got going on in Virginia, and it hasn't been this way. I haven't seen explosiveness like this since the Herman Moore, Sean Moore days. You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of nostalgic watching them guys put up points the way that they are. But, you know, and that's kind of on the offensive end. So that kind of, you know, for all those out there, those draft pundits, some of those folks who want to know what is going on, what talent is coming from the eastern side, central side of Virginia, that's what's going on here from the offensive end. Also got to throw in there a player who could be on the also on the offensive side, on the radars of draft guys, is Monroe Mills. He was supposed to be their starting left tackle, who actually tore his leg up in the offseason. He was one of their top gets. He was one of the top linemen in the transfer portal in the nation, and he came to Virginia. And,
is he healthy now, or
no? He's out for the whole year.
Oh man,
he's out for the whole year. But so he'll be ready for draft if he doesn't redshirt and come back. But I don't think he will. I think, you know, his credentials speak for themselves, and I think he'll be draft ready when it comes. But he was on the top lineman, period, in the ACC, and he'll be probably a mid-round draft pick, being a tackle, probably a right tackle in the league. But talking defensive side of the ball, I got to start with he came back last week. Cam Robinson, middle linebacker, led the team in tackles. Extraordinarily talented. He's very athletic, has great hands. He played tight ends type wide receiver when he was in college. But the kid can get from sideline to sideline. He's making plays on the University of Virginia's defense. Hasn't played when playing the first 3 years for a shoulder injury, but he's back and he's looking good. Also, another top player who's coming back full time, I believe, this week. He played a little bit last week as well, but I think he's going to be back full time. Is Antonio Clary, another safety who is, Virginia has had a plethora of box safeties that have come out for the past 5 years in a row. And he's right there in that same vein. Kid can run, he can hit, he can definitely tackle, but he plays, with the speed and ferocity that you expect from a Virginia box safety. And he's coming back, and I think he's going to play a lot this year going forward, being that his injuries are done. But some young players to look forward to bring up. Got Cam Courtney, a wide receiver, also getting some play, getting some run. Wide receiver, sophomore on the team, looks very good. Daniel Kaelin, he's the backup quarterback. He's a sophomore, played at Nebraska, came over through the NIL. These kids are eating it up, man. And Virginia's, I don't know if you heard the story in the offseason when the NIL, when the windows were open and the transfer portal windows were open, Dion had said, Virginia, you got to stop. Do you remember that?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, Dion actually one of the running backs from Colorado had transferred to Virginia, but I guess admissions didn't work, so he had to leave. But Dion actually said, Virginia, you gotta stop. You know what I mean? He said, I gave you one. He said, that's it. Dion said that, and I'm like, he just put Virginia somewhat on the map a little bit, because some kids are gonna be like, maybe I should be looking at what Virginia has going on. What are they giving out? So that was something that I felt was actually a very positive thing for the program to have. And then, of course, going back into some younger guys, Ethan Mentor, who's a sophomore safety, who's been starting in the spot for Clary, who looks pretty good and developing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as well. Then, of course, we got CJ Spence, 6'4", 190-pound freshman out of Chesapeake, Virginia, played for Kempsville. One of my guys, Daryl Cherry, coach at Kempsville High School. So, yeah, man, I'm just trying to fill it up, man. I know we got some time constraints, but I want to kind of give the viewers and listeners some information about the Virginia guys and what I've been seeing.
No, it's outstanding stuff, and that's why we had you on. I told the listening audience on the show yesterday, nobody knows more about Virginia football than Big Law, and you see me taking notes feverishly because I'm going to be tuned into this matchup tonight. And really, that's how we met. I don't know how many years ago now it was, but you never know who you're going to sit next to in the press box. And me and Big Law were sitting there chopping it up, and man, I left the game. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. He gave me so many players, and I remember actually you were the first one to tell me about Noah Taylor.
Yeah.
And in a full circle moment, when I was with Edmonton last year, we actually signed him up north, and he's now starting there at defensive end. So, hey, these are the names you need to know, man. This is great stuff. And you mentioned Joe Morris. A lot of people probably don't know that, Joe Morris, after he retired from the NFL, he kept playing in a New Jersey semi-pro league. He was in my cousin's tackle football league. He played till he was like well into his 40s.
Wow.
Just because he loves the game so much. Yeah. It was,
man, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Hard to tackle, and broke a lot of hearts down here in DC.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that.
Well, listen, I do want to sneak in some quick Virginia Tech talk before we do.
Sure.
Do you have a prediction for the Virginia game? They're getting 6.5 at home. How do you see the outcome here?
I think Virginia can win the game. I think they have the book on Castellanos. I know that the roster is a lot better because he's at Florida State with a ton of 4 and 5 stars. When he was at Boston, he's been at Boston College. He's from where you're from, up there in the north, and he's one of those guys who,
I'm familiar.
And he kind of puts you in the mind of a little bit of a Kyler Murray-esque player.
Baby
And
Kyler, it's right here in my notes. That's exactly how he plays. Yeah,
exactly. You keep him in the pocket and try to make him throw over the 6'7", 6'5", 6'6" lineman. He has trouble, but do not give him any rush lanes. The 3 words I said on my show this Tuesday: rush, lane, integrity. Keep him in the pocket, make him throw. But UVA had a great game against him last time they played him, kept him in the pocket. I want to say they sacked him at least twice and won the game, but they limited his effectiveness. They didn't let him get out the pocket and make these off schedule throws and for these big chunks. But that's the thing with Castellanos: keep him in the pocket, don't let him break the pocket as far as making these big plays, because he has so much talent to throw to downfield. And then of course he has some great running backs as well. So I'm looking at Virginia winning by a point in the mid 30s.
Okay.
I'm thinking, that's where I'm at with it. I just think that this atmosphere that they're building down here, they are pumping this is the 30-year anniversary when Virginia beat Florida State when Warwick Dunn was stopped on the goal line. Now,
oh wow,
the backstory with that is when Florida State entered the ACC, they hadn't lost in over 3 years, and when they came to Charlottesville, and that was the first time they had lost in the ACC, and it was a Warwick Dunn fumble and a Anthony Poindexter tackle with a Jamie Sharper on the back end swiping his leg, and he fumbled. It was just great, but it was at the goal line going into the locker rooms, going towards that direction, and it was one of the epic times at Virginia. So they're pumping that 30-year anniversary game and putting it all on the screens and putting it all up. So, and they actually are bringing back those actual throwback jerseys for tonight, with
so it sounds like there could be a little storming of the field.
Oh my goodness. Yes, because it was then. It was the first time Florida State lost in the ACC. So, they're bringing it in with the orange collar jerseys, which is those throwbacks.
Talking to Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia, and I appreciate the time, Big Law. Before we get you out of here, let's talk Virginia Tech, because you're down there, and one of the names that has surfaced is also Norfolk State head coach Mike Vick. I guess the question is, you're talking about all this NIL, Virginia Tech recruiting a lot of the same players. Do you think Mike Vick can come in, and obviously there's no NIL situation at Norfolk State? Would that be too much for a Mike Vick to come in and overtake, or is he a legitimate candidate, do you think?
I don't think right now, as much as I like to see Mike as well as he's doing, as far as getting recruits, because recruits are going to come just because of the name. But I don't think he's ready quite yet for a Virginia Tech coaching job. I think he's still working out everything at Norfolk State. I think right now Norfolk State is 1-3, I believe. And they're, he's still getting together. And he has a pretty good staff down there as well, a couple of Wahoos on the staff. But I think that he just needs to, get more seasoned and continue to see, how well he can do down there down here at Norfolk State. And I think he'll do okay. I just think that it'll take a little bit before it could be the next time the job comes open that Mike is definitely going to be on the radar. But as far as Virginia Tech goes, the coaching search, the usual suspects, the Shane Beamers, their fantasy pick. They want Shane.
Is that
Beamer
realistic
back.
though? Do they have the money to pull him out of?
They don't. That's a great statement there. They don't, and that's what has been the issue at Tech. Whit Badcock, the AD here, is I don't want to say he's crying, but he's like begging, like, donors, we need money. We don't have
now.
the
Where
money.
Where are they in comparison to Virginia? Do you know?
They're about another hour and a half, 2 hours up the street going west toward in Roanoke.
But in terms of NIL money, though, like, are they?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't suspect maybe a third. They're probably spending maybe half or a third of what Virginia spent. If UVA's number actually is 30 million, they're probably somewhere half of that or less, to a third more. So there's not the support that Virginia, the Virginia fan base and boosters are giving. I mean, I'm looking at other names like John Gruden. I mean, pipe dream guys that they and John Gruden has an affinity, obviously, for the Virginia Tech brand. I heard Lane Kiffin, Urban Meyer, and it's like, we're not that big, we're not that big in Virginia. I don't think Virginia, with all the money they had, could really get one of those names right now. Especially, it'll just take some time to build the brand. But Virginia Tech, they're still, right now they're definitely in a lot of trouble because of once the coach resigns, of course, the NIL
The portal,
portal opens up for 30 days, so these kids can go anywhere. And if you look at now they're starting to post injuries for college players. Their list is unreal, and who knows how
nobody wants to play now. Yeah,
exactly. So, poor fans, and poor, the situation for their program right now. But I hope that I'm a Virginia State guy. Period. I want all of our kids out there and all the players, to have a successful career and and to be successful scholar athletes. And Virginia Tech, when they're good and we're good together, that's when the state thrives. So they need to get it up, and we want them to get it up as well, so that when we beat them, there'll be no excuses.
Yeah, we'll be keeping tabs on the new Virginia Tech head coach, and I'm sure we'll be keeping tabs on Big Law. Tell the listening audience where they can find all your work at.
They can find me anywhere on Facebook. Look for Lawrence Johnson, Big Law Lawrence Johnson. On Facebook, 7 City Shop Talk Sports. That's the brand that I have right here, 7 City Shop Talk Sports. You can also catch me on YouTube and some Twitter or X as well. So we're actually me and my squad, I got about 5 guests. We're 5 hosts that we're that we'll probably meet there tonight, and I'm gonna definitely do a pregame, postgame, and halftime for the game as well. So y'all follow me and check me out, and and you'll see what we got going on. It's going to be an electric atmosphere out there with Florida State coming in, and they always come in heavy, man. Rich guys coming in with all those RVs parking. You know what I'm saying, Rick? Those guys be coming up. I mean, when I was getting recruited at UNC, I did, and it was that Peter Warwick game. I came out in '95, so this, there was about 5 or 6 RVs all pulled up together, all colored in Florida State colors, and I was like, what in the world is going on here? I said, these mobile homes were just like $500,000 mobile homes. And I said, Florida State is for real. This is when they was in their heyday as well. So, yeah, it was awesome, dude. It was awesome.
Good stuff. And we appreciate the information. We appreciate the time. And, send me that link too. I'll try to get it out there for that pregame show, because I'd be interested in tuning in and learning more about this matchup. Like I said, I'm going to be dialed in, 7 p.m. kickoff. I know you're shooting down to the stadium right now.
Yep.
So we'll let you boogie on off. But thanks a lot for shedding the light on the Virginia program. I had no idea they were moving and grooving in the NIL world like that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. On top, man. They're been in some of them. Well, I think in the ACC, I don't want to say they're the top, but they're right up there, man. They've got to be, But Virginia, I guess they feel like they want to throw their money around. They're throwing it around.
All right, pretty impressive stuff. We'll be watching to see if Big Law storms the field with the student body later on.
Get trampled.
All right, Big Law, man. We'll be talking to you. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you, my man.
Right, there awesome. He is. NFL Draft Bible Familia, Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, holding it down here on the All Access Football Daily Show. Starting us off with a bang. Woo! We're just getting started. We're about halfway through this hour of power. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll get into more college football action tonight. We got the Thursday night football recap. We're going to break down the CFL. Commissioner had some strong words about the rule changes and a CFL doubleheader. We're going to squeeze it all in right after this. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world-famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world-famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off. Rain, sleet, hail, snow, the show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, back at it again. RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella here on this Football Friday affair. We just had our special guest of the hour, Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, holding it down for Lock On Virginia. And he is a fountain of information when it comes to those Cavaliers. And that was a well worth it episode. We went a little long with Big Law halfway through the show. So we got a lot to get to here in the next half hour of power. We're live each and every day, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. You're home for real football talk. And we were just talking about the FSU at UVA game. That's tonight, 7 p.m. kickoff. Man, I'm really split and divided now on how I'm going to pick this game. Big Law installing some confidence in me there behind the Cavaliers. I mentioned Darrell Jackson. I'll give you some names for the Florida State Seminoles. Darrell Jackson, big 6'5", 340-pound defensive tackle. He's gargantuan. I mean, 35-inch arms, 86-inch wingspan, elite strength, knockback ability, can even rush the passer with that powerful bull rush that he does. Space eater against the run, too. He's got 8 tackles and a sack, probably a day 2 prospect there for Florida State. Cornerback Earl Little, really making a name for himself. We wrote him up on the website for the Florida State Draft Watch, courtesy of Dom Ambrose. 6 foot and 6/8 inches, just under 200 pounds, 4.4 speed. He's got 15 tackles, an interception, and a pass deflection on the year. Versatile guy, can play man or zone, very physical, very good tackler, excellent footwork, fluid hips. Earl Little, probably in that day 3 range. And then, talk about another monster, this Deuce Robinson for Florida State. He's listed at like 6'6". I got him at 6'5" and 3/8 inches, 223 pounds, making plays all over the field, 200 receiving yards, a pair of touchdowns there. He is the go-to target for Tommy Castellanos, who Big Law mentioned there in the last segment. I mean, he is a spitting image of Kyler Murray, minus the accuracy, minus the arm strength, but that's his style of play. He's completing actually 71.1% of his passes this year, 594 passing yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 3 touchdowns on the ground. He hasn't been running the ball as much as years past, only 139 rushing yards on the season. They've played 3 games so far. And Castellanos is going to keep them in that game. Should be very competitive. I don't know. I might lean with Big Law on the upset alert here in this Virginia and Florida State affair. But again, if you missed the first half hour of the show, we'll isolate that interview and put it up on the YouTube channel later on today. Also going on in the college football world tonight, we've got TCU at Arizona State. This is a 9 p.m. kickoff over on Fox, Big 12 affair. Number 24th ranked TCU, 3-0, comes in as the underdog at Arizona State, 3-1. We've talked about Jordan Tyson, our number 1 rated wide receiver on the big board, comes in at 6'2", 195 pounds. Now, he had that collarbone injury last year. If you remember, he missed that college football playoff game against Texas where Cam Scadaboo ran over them, through them, around them. So Jordan Tyson now back. He's healthy. He's got size. He's got deep speed. He's got tremendous ball tracking ability. He's able to pick up yards after the catch. I would like to see him improve some of his route running there, but big season, already 357 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Of course, last year he had 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And Sam Levitt, the quarterback, not my cup of tea per se, but there is a lot of love for him in the scouting community. I actually see a lot of people mocking him in the first round. He's at 6'1" and 5/8 inches, 200 pounds, smaller. Can also move around too. He's completing 61% of his passes, 748 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 219 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. He can make all the throws. He's very confident, very poised, got a lot of moxie back there. That's Sam Levitt, and he'll be looking to air it out. All right, 2 other guys, Max Ihanaker, the offensive tackle who's received very high grades from NFL scouts, 6'6", 320 pounds. I don't know if he creeps up into the first round category, but he is certainly probably a top 50 prospect at the offensive tackle there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, keep an eye on cornerback Keith Abney II. Coaches are raving about this young man. He is a high character, fast learner. You talk about football intelligence, 2-year starter, very good technique, and he just loves the game. You listen to the coaches talk about him. He's obsessed. One of these first one in, last one out. He knows where the film room is, ladies and gentlemen. So there are some players for you to keep an eye on the Arizona State side of things. Over on the TCU side, we've got Bud Clark, really good-looking safety, who had a Senior Bowl invite last year and decided to return back to school. 6 foot and 5/8 inches, 189 pounds, very hard hitter, can jar the ball loose, tremendous instinct, solid wrap-up tackler, very aggressive, Bud Clark, and he is going to be a Sunday player, potential starter at the next level. I'd put him in that day 2 category. Now, we mentioned Keith Abner on the Arizona State side. He's going to draw the assignment of trying to guard Eric McAllister, who was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week this past week with 254 receiving yards and a trio of touchdowns. He's explosive. He can get vertical. They actually beat SMU last week in a very impressive win, 35-24, courtesy of Eric McAllister, and slinging the rock to him will be John Hoover, who's playing very well. In fact, he's got 180.9 passer rating, completing 68% of his passes with 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, more of a pocket passer, but very efficient. He's got ice in his veins now, and he can sling it around the field. This is going to be another coin toss matchup affair. I'm actually going to go with the favorite here, who is Arizona State at home. I think they squeaked this one out, but another great game kicking off at 9 o'clock on Fox. We've got great football action. And then another late night affair, Houston at Oregon State. Okay. Houston 3-0, Oregon State 0-4. These are 2 programs trending in opposite directions. Houston comes in on the road favored 13.5. And here you have Connor Wegman. Remember him over at Texas A&M, former 5-star recruit. He's got 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 569 passing yards, completing the ball at 64 percentile. And on the other end of the spectrum is Malik Murphy, who I really thought I liked over at Duke before he transferred. He's been hopping around. He started off at Texas. I think he was the backup to Caleb Williams initially, where he caught my attention, but he's having a terrible season. 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 964 yards, but just 84 passing yards last week. So Malik Murphy, who's only completing 57% of his passes, really needs to step his game up for the Beavers. I think Houston's going to win this game handedly. 2 other guys to watch out for in this matchup. Houston tight end Tanner Koziel, probably mid to late round draft pick, 6'6" tight end, 237 pounds. And then Oregon State wide receiver Trent Walker, 6'2", 190 pounds, really works that short to intermediate parts of the field very well there for the Beavers. All right. So those are your college football matchups for tonight. Also, John Mateer had successful hand surgery yesterday. He announced on Twitter he's expected to miss about a month now for Oklahoma, which is disappointing news because he was the leading Heisman Trophy candidate, and Michael Hawkins Jr. will start in his place. Hawkins played well last year, 783 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, 204 rushing yards in relief. And they're on a bye week this week, so they're going to draw Kent State on October 4th. That'll be about 2 weeks. And then we'll see when Mateer can come back because they're really in the thick of this SEC schedule with games against Texas, at South Carolina, versus Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama. So somewhere probably between that South Carolina and Ole Miss game, you can expect the return of John Mateer. And then one last note on the college football side, we told you about Anthony Smith last night in the ECU Army game, and ECU took care of business 28-6 there. But Anthony Smith, 3 catches, 87 yards, including a big 40-yard touchdown. You got a sneak peek preview, little glimpse of the speed from the state record holder there in Anthony Smith. Bringing you the names you need to know first. Go over to allaccessfootball.com. We got a draft insider report posted up on the website right now for you to digest. 80 prospects broken down. Measurements, scouting reports, projections for the Oregon, Penn State game, of course, Georgia and Alabama. We got it all listed there for you. And also we posted the top 30 draft eligible prospects at each position. NFL draft big board is heating up over at allaccessfootball.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Before we do, I want to get to some CFL news and notes. I heard the commissioner on the Rod Peterson show yesterday, and he was talking about why people don't like the new rule changes. We spent considerable amount of time on that, I think, on Tuesday's show. And, he gave a whole psychology class. It's like, Commish, what are we doing? Is this a psychology class or are we talking football? And I left a comment also, too, on Rod Peterson's post because the commissioner was tagged on. I said, how about you go and figure out how to work some more lucrative TV deals so that the owners and the league can be more profitable? That should be the task at hand, not tweaking and twerking the longest running professional football league in the world. And he said this is just phase 1 of changes. So it made it sound like more tweaks to come. A lot of people concerned that they could switch to a 4-down format. And, I hate to see the commissioner ruin this great game up there in Canada, but he is trending in that direction. I hate to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. So we got a CFL doubleheader tonight, 7 p.m. Calgary 8-5 at Montreal 7-7. And then 10 p.m., Toronto 5-9 at BC 7-7. Of course, Toronto down to their 3rd string quarterback in Jarrett Dagey and scrapping and clawing for their playoff lives. Montreal has shown signs of life, and Calgary has lost here in recent weeks. So some positioning battle going on in the CFL doubleheader affair. Of course, 3 big games on the college football docket. Okay, now when we come back, we're going to get into the Thursday night football game that was last night. I've also got a slew of news and notes to get you prepared for the upcoming NFL Sunday. So we'll get into that and more with Ric Serritella. I am your host here on the All Access Football Daily Show. We went a little bit out of order, so I'm just getting my acts together and organizing my notes. We're burning the midnight oil, bringing you the names you need to know. Go over to allaccessfootball.com. We've got the Draft Insider on Fridays. Monday, we'll have the Scout Notebook with a recap of all the prospects who caught our attention over the weekend, nonstop scouting reports. Tuesday, we're going to post the top draft-eligible prospects for that California Golden Bears program. Of course, Wednesday, we'll have the world-famous All Access Football Report read by 50,000 subscribers from 70 countries around the world and all 32 NFL teams. And next week, we're going to have a lot of giveaways, right? So make sure you tune in all next week. We're going to be doing some giveaways. We got some sponsors coming on board here at the All Access Football Daily Show. It is your home for real football talk. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world-famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic. Get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report, published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe. And we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off, rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody. All right, back at it again. RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella, telling like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. Here on the All Access Football Show, we're live 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. It is your home for real football talk, and we appreciate everybody who tunes in each and every day here on the All Access Football Daily Show. Please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, leave us a comment. We appreciate all the feedback. Let's get interactive with it. Can we light up the chat room here, please? Can somebody just drop us a line? Okay. We'll get that chat room fired up here eventually as the show progresses. A lot to get to. If you missed the first segment, we had Big Law Lawrence Johnson breaking down that Virginia-Florida State matchup. Last segment, we went around the college football landscape, Friday Night Lights, names you need to know for the upcoming 2026 NFL draft. We also snuck in a little Canadian Football League talk there with the commissioner and the new rule changes. Of course, CFL doubleheader tonight. It's a Football Friday affair here on the All Access Football Daily Show, and we're going to try to go warp speed here and get through the news and notes, and then I'll give you my Thursday night football reaction, okay? First off, the news that caught my attention yesterday, and I didn't see the mainstream really pick up on this too much, and I'm not sure if it's being ignored or if it hasn't just caught traction yet. I would imagine this is going to be a topic on the Sunday pregame shows. But how about Robert Saleh's press conference there yesterday for the 49ers when asked about the Jacksonville Jaguars? Did you guys see this? He alluded to Liam Cohen being a professional sign stealer, and he said they actually have a very legal, complex sign stealing system. And the snitch, Robert Saleh, he wasn't done ratting everybody out while he was up there. He also alluded to Sean McVay, the Sean McVay coaching tree, specifically Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, stating hey, you've really got to be on your P's and Q's and get creative with the hand signals, because they have a way of detecting that. Now, this was made a very big deal last year when Michigan, or 2 years ago when Michigan was doing this, and it didn't even seem to register a bleep on the mainstream media radar. And, this is not to be taken very lightly. I think we should be aware of the situation. And if this is occurring, well, there's a lot of technology now. Like the middle linebackers wear a green dot. They can communicate with the coaches. And obviously there's communication with the quarterback. So I guess it's the hand signals. Maybe the players are relaying to each other that Liam Cohen and Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay, I guess, have put in a lot of time creating this elaborate sign stealing scheme. But that certainly caught my attention, something we're going to continue to monitor. All right. How about the Giants? Another day, another Giants news story. The fans have raised they were looking to raise $250,000 to fly a banner to Mr. Mara. Enough is enough. That's going to be flying over to Giants Stadium this Sunday. Now, they raised so much money towards this effort. There's going to be multiple planes, according from my boots on the ground sources. So the Meadowlands will have some air control trafficking to do there at Giants Stadium. All right, Tua, did you see his comments? He barked back at Cam Newton like, dude, just get off your soapbox, take the criticism, be a man. I can see it. Like, Tua has no confidence in himself when he sits there and speaks, and he's just a nervous Nelly. I wouldn't want him as my quarterback. He can't stay healthy. Every time he gets hit, you got to hold your breath. And he's just insecure about himself. Like, neither one of you are right. Cam Newton's not right. You're not right. Just pipe down. Go play ball. Why don't you go beat the New York Jets instead of worrying about what everybody else was saying, okay? Tua. Shedeur Sanders, another guy who just needs to keep his mouth shut. Yeah, if you look around the league at the starting quarterbacks, I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Really? I can do better, he says. Well, you know what? You can't even beat out Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel. So why don't you just pipe down to Shedeur and wait for your time? All right, what else? We got Justin Fields, injury reports. We got Justin Fields, the quarterback, returns to practice. It looks like he's going to be trending towards playing against the Miami Dolphins here on Sunday. Also, Cam Ward was limited in practice on Wednesday. He was a full participant on Thursday, so he'll be a full go as well. What else do I got for you here? Tristan Wirfs is back. How about some good news for Tampa Bay? Obviously they lost Cody Mauch. They lost Godecki, their other tackle. They also lost Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans now out 2 to 4 weeks. Kalijah Kancey out for the season. Well, how about some welcome news for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs? Their left tackle, Tristan Wirfs, is back in action and hopping and bopping around. Matabuke, the neck injury there for Baltimore, we talked about it on Monday's show. Definitely a concern. Travis Jones, the defensive tackle, has a knee. Ronnie Stanley has an ankle. Kyle Van Noy has a hammy. Patrick Ricard has an ankle. Isaiah Likely is probably still out. All these guys expected to miss this big Kansas City Chiefs matchup. And I don't know. Baltimore, I think, is favored. We'll talk about it on Sunday's show. But, man, the Ravens are all banged up at a wrong time here against Kansas City. Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, they remain out for the Buffalo Bills. They're favored by like 16.5 over the Saints this week, so they're probably better off letting those guys rest. And then down over at Houston, Derek Stingley has an oblique injury. He was out of practice, may not play. Nico Collins with a knee injury did return to practice, so it looks like he will play there for the Houston Texans. Got a lot in there. All right, Thursday night football. We end with last night's drama-filled Thursday night football. I had it 27-20 Seattle. It turned out to be 23-20 Seattle, but Arizona made it close, didn't they? And, a couple of mistakes here. Well, quite a few mistakes. First of all, if it was me, and hindsight is 20/20, but when I was watching this game live in the moment, I was like, all right, Arizona at home, let's go for 2 here and get out. They decided to tie the game, and then the kicker has the infraction on the kickoff and gives Seattle the ball back at their own 40-yard line, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba just does his thing, with that 22-yard completion to set up the Jason Myers 52-yard field goal. And boom, there you have it. You heard Mike McDonald talk about Myers. He's just got ice in his veins. But Jackson Smith and Jigba with a big day. Sam Darnold, 18 of 26, 242 yards. Kyler Murray sacked 6 times, and he had to do a lot, right? Minus James Conner. He led the team in rushing with 41 yards. Trey Benson, who we talked about, only 8 carries for 35 yards. But I think the big news to come out of this was in Seattle, by the way, 8 straight wins over Arizona. But Marvin Harrison, man, we got the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything in between. Costly mistake there in the first half, drop leading to the interception. And some of his route running in the first half, he just looked lost. He looked demoralized on the sidelines. Now, give him credit. He came back, big touchdown to get him back in the game, big catch to set up the game-tying score. So Marvin Harrison, you hope that he takes the second half performance and builds off of that momentum for the Cardinals moving forward. He did finish with 6 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown, was targeted 10 times. Trey McBride had 11 targets. Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet were working in tandem there in the backfield. And we talked about the return of Devin Witherspoon and Love in the secondary. They combined for 15 tackles. Seattle's defense holding up, limiting Arizona to field goals. And Calais Campbell, we just talked about it. Like, he's just been a killer. He comes up with the big sack at 39 years old. And Seattle squeaks it out in that wild, wild NFC West. And that makes me now 29-20. I believe. I got the official 28-21. We'll get the official. I think we're 29-20, I believe, now on the season. Yep, 29-20 against the spread. Of course, Sunday we'll have our NFL Pick 'em Around the League show where I give you key tidbits, the latest injury updates, breaking news, predictions against the spread for every single game. We'll do that on Sunday. Tomorrow is my favorite day of the week because our residential scout, Russell Landy, joins us each and every Saturday, former NFL, CFL, XFL scout. He'll be with me to break down the marquee matchups. We'll take a look at Oregon and Penn State. We'll take a look at Georgia and Alabama, also Ole Miss and LSU, another good one. And maybe we'll get into some of the head coaching vacancies around the country. I did see Adam Peters, the Washington Commanders GM, is going to be part of a 6-person search committee for the new UCLA head coach. I thought that was interesting. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show. Of course, we had Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, 7 City Shop Talk, Lock on Virginia podcast, part of the NFL Draft Bible Familia. He broke it down really, really, really good for us with that Virginia-Florida State game. I'm going to be locked in, dialed in. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show as well. And it's been a great week of guests. I mean, yesterday we had Chad Ryder from NFL.com, one of the best NFL draft analysts in the world. And then on Wednesday, each and every Wednesday, we have legendary Howard Balzer, 50 years of covering the NFL each and every Wednesday. Tuesday, we popped up the new Continental Football League Commissioner, Mike Kelly. And a lot of you guys really liked that interview. Of course, all of our interviews are now isolated over on the YouTube channel, so you can always go back. We'll have the Big Law interview in its entirety as well. And if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, please smash that like button, share it, subscribe it, get our new show alerts. We got a lot of good programming here at the All Access Football Network. Head over to allaccessfootball.com. You can find out about Scouting the League with Neil Stratton and Roderick David. We also have the QB Huddle with Tim Smith and Lo Morales, as well as the New and Blue New York Giants podcast, which airs live Monday, 7 p.m. right here, wherever you're tuned in, with my co-host, Dan Orlando. I'm sure there's going to be some interesting storylines to emerge from the start of Jackson Dart against the LA Superchargers, and Chargers coming in as 6.5 road favorites in that one. So, man, what a week. Our 4th week in the books here at the All Access Football Daily Show. This was our 26th episode here on Friday, Football Friday Familia, September 26, 2025. For our special guest, Big Law Lawrence Johnson, I was Ric Serritella, and we will be back at it again tomorrow, bright and early, 10 a.m. Eastern. Buckle up. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hey, RIC in a place to be. Ric Serritella checking in from the legendary Jersey Shore for the world famous All Access Football, and you're tuned in to the All Access Football Daily Show, our newest venture here at the world-famous All Access Football, read by all 32 NFL teams and 50,000 subscribers from around the world. And I've been blessed and fortunate enough to work in this great game of football for the past 2 decades. It's our 24th season of providing you independent analysis when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin, whether it's the NFL, college football, NFL draft, CFL, UFL. We'll be with you each step of the way, especially for draft season when we really get into high mode. Of course, it's all brought to you by the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, published in April, featuring over 500 in-depth scouting reports with our boots-on-the-ground analysis. We'll be on location at the All-Star Games, the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day circuit, counting you down to that 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh. And be sure you check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got a great promo discount for you listeners at home. If you enter our promo code RICVIP, you'll get a 30% discount off of all of our premium content. You'll unlock the magic, get our NFL Draft Insider Reports, Scouting Notebook, of course, the World Football All Access Football Report published on Wednesday. It's your new home for real football talk. So follow along, give us a shout. We hope you're enjoying the show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X, please give it a like, a share, a subscribe, and we'll be with you each and every day here, 7 days a week, live, 10 a.m. Eastern, no days off, rain, sleet, hail, snow. The show must go on. For Ric Serritella and the All Access Football Daily Show, keep it locked, everybody.